haven't seen Zohran Mamdani cut anything at all.
MAGA can't see their nose, even though it's attached to their face. Zohran's war against corruption is breaking their feeble brains in ways that we haven't yet seen. Likely because he's actually making moves like no other Democrat ever has, well, at least in our living memory. And the shockwaves that are rippling through the conservative hive mind are highly entertaining to watch.
Calling it a funny name, like a little bit in jest to align with or mock, however you look at it, Doge. But what it's doing is effectively entirely different than what Doge actually did and what we saw come out of Doge.
Well, we don't know what COGE does. All I'm hearing right now is it sounds like a bunch of meetings. Sounds like they're all going to sit there in their fields all across New York and talk about how things could be more efficient, but not actually change anything. Like it or hate it, at least Elon went in and tried to make change to bureaucracy. Waste, fraud, and abuse. It exists in every budget for every city, every state across the country, Republican or Democrat. So the idea that government efficiency, making the government more accountable, more accessible, making it more affordable for the American people by cutting the spending of the government, yeah, let's do it. But I haven't seen Zohran Mamdani cut anything at all.
Everything out of a MAGA moron's mouth is projection and lies. Sitting around talking about efficiency is exactly what Elon did. In fact, it took 2 seconds to debunk the bottomless bile of lies that woman was spewing. Even Fortune was reporting on Doge's mass federal layoffs costing the taxpayers $135 billion, while the amount that they saved is basically negligible. Zohran, on the other hand, actually saved money by making efficient cuts. And that's before he announced COGE. $1 billion were saved when he appointed chief savings officers to all city agencies. She can't see this? I mean, do we have some sort of true sight or something? I'm not crazy, right? You guys see this very simple Google search and AI overview that explains the whole thing? No, of course they can't see what's right in front of them, even if it's Zohran Mamdani himself standing there explaining the truth like this.
Government efficiency, these are words that somehow have been understood as if they are Republican priorities, when in fact they are the priorities of anyone who believes in the public sector. And yet Elon Musk took that language and used it to cut as many jobs that were as critical as possible for so many of the neediest people across the country and across the world. Ours is going to be a focus on actually delivering efficiency, not as a byword for cutting services, but actually a sincere commitment to efficiency. And we firmly believe not only in closing the last chapter of city government, but in starting the new one.
That's right, Mamdani is about that business, not about sitting around and talking about feelings or whatever MAGA does on Fox News. Unlike the corrupt mayor before him, Mamdani's finally listening to us, the people, and rooting out corruption in all aspects of government, even the police. Mamdani fires the New York City chief and appoints a former whistleblower to the new position.
Mayor Mamdani has fired the New York City Sheriff. Anthony Miranda was appointed by then-Mayor Eric Adams in 2022.
But towards the end of Eric Adams' time in office, Sheriff Miranda was accused of pocketing some of that seized cash. He was also investigated for allegedly soliciting donations to the National Latino Officers Association in exchange for letting some suspects off the hook.
This is the new sheriff in town who replaced the old corrupt crook, a man who literally wrote the book on NYPD corruption. It's called An Inconvenient Cop, My Fight to Change Policing in America by Edwin Raymond. The book exposes the insider truth about the level of racism and classist actions and quotas that we all knew were happening behind closed doors. And, as you can tell, this brother committed the ultimate cardinal sin of being black. And you don't have to imagine how pissed MAGA was about this. I'll show you. Over on Trump's Poop Social, Conservative Brief is asking, is this real? Yes, it is. Socialist Mayor Zohran Mamdani has appointed Edwin Raymond, who believes policing is systematically racist and wants non-whites arrested. As New York City Sheriff, Edwin Raymond represents the kind of public servant New Yorkers deserve: principled, courageous, and deeply committed to justice. Isn't that exactly the kind of law and order sheriff that MAGA would want? Well, I'm sorry to tell the racists over here in MAGA land, but yes, it is true. This accomplished young black man who fought the system on behalf of us little people and won is their new sheriff. And what he is on record saying is making every conservative in about a 100-mile radius of New York completely blow their trousers.
Much more complex than just simple individual racism. It's the racism that's interwoven in the system by the way of the enforcement quotas in Black and Hispanic communities.
But those cops are then being instructed and pressured to get the low-level arrest with the belief that it stops the more serious things from happening. There's absolutely no empirical evidence to support that.
You know what it's called when someone goes against the grain and does what's right? Integrity. The exact thing that we have been dying to see in our elected officials, not this greedy, selfish demagogues that we've been trained to accept. That's why Fox News is struggling to find anyone on the streets of New York that'll fit their anti-Mamdani narrative.
So did you vote for Mayor Mamdani?
Yes, I did.
What is one thing you like that the mayor has done?
I think he's brought a lot more integrity to the office. I mean, Eric Adams was crooked as hell, and we want somebody honest.
You can't argue with integrity. You can't argue with results, and that's exactly what we're seeing. As Joe Kent here says, Zohran is showing us that the Democrats' line about, oh, we're just not able to do it right now, yeah, that is complete bullshit. Instead, he is proclaiming loud and clear that we will make changes for the better and we will go out there and do them. And then we're seeing him actually going out and doing it.
For people out there who may not be New Yorkers who are tuning into this, how'd you manage to do that?
Well, I think we always asked ourselves the question of how can we actually deliver for what has become the most expensive city in the United States of America? How can we tackle the cost of living crisis? And for all of the conversation of whether or not we can afford it, what we've actually found is that we can't afford to continue to pursue a politics of inaction, a politics of complacency. And what we've done is deliver on a vision of universal childcare, as you said, for the first time in New York City history, delivering free childcare for 2-year-olds. And this is something that means so much to New York families because, as you know, in our city, it's considered a good deal if you're spending $20,000 a kid per year for childcare. This is how we actually drive down the cost of living, and we're proud to be doing it here so that we show that our party can be more than just a negation of what we're seeing at the federal level. We can also actually have an affirmative vision of what we can deliver on the local level.
You've clearly been focused on cutting waste and going through the budget, I assume dollar by dollar, a little more than that,
Yes.
to find savings so that you can do the things you want to do. Having just gone through all that, I just have to ask you about some of the spending we've been seeing out of Washington. I mean, in particular, Trump's decision to use $1.8 billion of taxpayer money as a slush fund for his aggrieved supporters. I mean, that's a lot of money. The people it's going to is its own separate outrageous problem. And the same people who are defending this fund are the ones who spent months claiming you were going to bankrupt New York with your policies. I know, because we've talked a number of times, you never stop smiling through all this, but that has to make you furious, right?
I think it just shows that it's never been about the amount of money. It's about what it's being spent on.
Zohran really is one of the only politicians that makes me actually believe a better future is possible. And isn't that exactly what we're building with our politics? This is U.S. Democratic Socialists. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll see you next time.